Hello, hello. After some technical issues, we're here. Hello and welcome to Luna and the Druid, a channel about spirituality, magic, tarot, druidism, the Wheel of Year, and all sorts of other cool stuff. I am Luna, and next to me, virtually, there is Druid.
Thank you, Luna, for the introduction and welcome to our viewers. Today, we're going into part two of, we don't know yet how many, of a series about spiritual awakening. Last week, we started it off with the key elements of spiritual awakening and a short glimpse on the phases you go through of spiritual awakening. So we talked about the awareness, about inner peace, the clarity that comes to you, the
Mm,
shift, the big shift in values, especially priorities, intuition, all of a sudden rising, then the sense of oneness, and s- asking yourself the existential questions. And from that awareness, uh, from these elements, and there might be even be more, but from these elements, we normally come to spiritual awakening. We go up and down, and we go through various processes uh, until we become enlightened in the end, and that's a
mm.
long process, Luna.
Yes, so last week, as Jan said, we went through stages. So we went through the catalyst stage, the dark night of the soul, the seeker, and we stopped at the sage level, which is a, a that doesn't happen very often when I all of a sudden don't know what to say.
Yeah, and when it happens, we laugh about it because we have good memories about the first time.
Oh yes, that
Big
that's
blooper. Yeah,
that is so
yeah,
true. What I
yeah.
was going
This,
to say that that's a stage where we decide to teach and share our knowledge,
yeah,
and from that we put a pause and left the stage of enlightenment for today. What we want to discuss today is that particular stage itself, go through how to reach enlightenment and what are the practices through um, to support your spiritual awakening, and if the time will allow us, but looking at the experience from last week, we may have to do a part three, we'll see. But I would really love to touch on um, the traps of spiritual awakening as well. So how my goodness, what's happening today? How does that sound?
it sounds perfect, Luna. Perfect, Luna. And of course, the stage where we're going into, the enlightened stage, is of course the great promise of awakening.
Mm,
Uh, it's something most of us might have a faint idea of what it is. A lot of us, especially when going through the process, might have an idea that yes, I have it, and then you fall off a cliff.
mm. Oh yeah. Jan, what would be your, let's call it, definition or understanding of enlightenment?
Yeah, enlightenment is the phase where all of a sudden it's a phase of pure clarity, of
Mm,
pure understanding. It doesn't, for instance, mean that you're uh, it doesn't mean passivity. That's the one of the big traps, of course, already. It doesn't mean you're all woohoo and okay with everything and everything is love and peace and happy. No, it means that you take the right actions at the right time with the right words, uh, addressing the right people. It's about doing the right thing and without falling, especially not falling in the traps of the mind and traps of,
mm,
even worse, the ego. And
mm,
when you're there, you're quite on your way to some enlightenment.
mm. Yeah,
There's the other definition, the one that Deepak Chopra gave once. He had a workshop, and he one day said, "There's a shortcut to enlightenment. There is a shortcut, and it's permanent. It's when you die."
That is so true. Well, I would describe enlightenment as a profound understanding and insight into one's true self, into ourselves, into our deepest, truest essence of who we really are, as well as tapping an insight into nature as well, because at the end of the day, we're oneness with everything, and that's that discovery of connection between everything and with everything, as well as recognizing the illusions we put upon ourselves, and of course, looking and going above the ego. That would be my definition of enlightenment in just few words.
Yeah. So what? So the thing that connects our two views here was the mentioning of the word ego.
Mm,
Would you say that the biggest threshold towards enlightenment is learning to play and cope with the ego? I was a big fan of, or I'm still a big fan of, for instance, Eckhart Tolle. He's like he's the master of the teachings of the ego, and
absolutely.
on the long run, I would say he said, yes, I totally obliterated my ego. My ego is gone, and that's I said, okay, that's good. You're enlightened, and then slowly you come to the conclusion that it's not getting rid of the ego, because the ego has a function. The ego has a function of kicking our butts.
Mm,
You know, if we wouldn't have an ego and we still had money in the bank, we'd never go to work. It's so there is a function. There is a function of the ego that it brings us to action
mm,
in a,
yeah.
and it can be doing that in a good way, and also in a different way, that the way that it leads us astray. So I would in the end more or less disagree with Tolle that that overcoming or completely uh, annihilating the ego is a good thing. I would just say recognize it for what it is, face it, look it in the eye, uh, use the good things of it. That's
Last Monday, I used the analogy of ego being in the driver's seat. So, what happens through the process of awakening and towards the enlightenment is taking the ego and moving it to the passenger seat and then taking the steers. The soul takes over the steers. So, I really recommend watching, if you haven't already, our last week's live, which we talked about it. It was such a lovely conversation. And some of your viewers come and say hi. Hello, Richard. So lovely to have you here tonight. And so, hello, Iron Fire Horse. So great to have you here today as well.
welcome back. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back
And
to part 2.
yeah, and for the ones who haven't seen it, the last week's video is in the commands below this video, in the description. Actually,
Yeah.
I put it in the description of the
Lovely.
this.
Thanks for doing it. It'll be easier to find.
But when you're here, stay here till the end, live. And if you're not live, then watch last week's first.
So back to the enlightenment. Enlightenment is a shift in perception
Yeah.
of the world itself, of ourselves, and very often it can be dramatic, it can be sudden, or it can unfold over time. But there are some characteristics of enlightenment. And Jan touched on the first one already, which is the transcendence of ego, and that individual no longer identifies with the ego of or the mind, but instead experiences a sense of oneness, wholeness with all existence.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't mean you're free from challenges,
Absolutely.
but
Life happens,
life
but
happens all the time. But it's the way we approach the challenges. That's what true enlightenment is. You do them with grace. You approach them with grace. You
mm,
approach them with awareness, uh, with a sense of peace. Even the bad
um,
things are with peace. Yeah.
peace and very often joy, that inner joy, inner peace. uh, Despite the circumstances, that's one of my favorite aspects of that stage of spiritual awakening, that no matter what happens, we can divide ourselves from that and look at whatever is happening from a completely different point of view, from completely different perspective,
Mhm.
and still be grateful for the challenges, because there is a different awareness to what comes after and what those challenges teach us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that,
So we turn the challenges, we turn the setbacks, we even turn the adversity in our benefit because we learn from it.
mm, yeah,
That's the difference. It's a different, and it's a different way of learning. It's not, we're no longer prone to becoming a victim of the dark night of the soul, where we
mm,
completely and utterly and fully immerse ourselves in the badness and go rock bottom in an astonishing speed. And fortunately, like I always say, hopefully find a trampoline at the bottom of the pit instead of the big hard stone bottom that it got its name from.
exactly. And that's my belief, that the rock bottom is there to help you to spring up back.
Yeah,
um, Another aspect of enlightenment would be that clarity and insight we mentioned here, and that deep understanding of nature of reality, of life, of consciousness, as well as the sense of compassion and love we develop. Because when we get to that stage, we become more compassionate to ourselves and to others. Um, Again, recognizing that we're all one. It's a big word. We are all one. We are all one, oneness, but we come from the same source. We are the same energy being expressed in a different ways,
yeah,
having different paths, different experiences. But at the end of the day, we co-create reality.
yeah. And the other I think the other big big manifestation of enlightenment is what we find in the tarot, in the temperance card number 14, where we are no longer in peak state when things go super well,
Mm,
but especially we're no longer going completely through a hellhole when things go a little bit wrong, and we accept and we're grateful for the best moments in our lives, and manage to enjoy them, but also we accept and we're in our power and graciously accept the other things that life throws at us that
mhm.
are our challenges. And that's, I think, one of the big things is to flatten out the big jumps in states of mind.
And that brings me to that non-attachment, a way of approaching life, because we understand that nothing is there forever except ourselves as a soul. That forever, in terms of the earthly mother, doesn't exist. So we detach from material possessions, we detach very often from desires, from outcomes, and we learn how to trust in the higher guidance, because we realize that there is something higher than ourselves, that there is that energy guiding us towards our truest north.
Yeah, to our essence. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Love
Absolutely.
it. Love it.
Um, Enlightenment is very often perceived as that state of constant bliss and escape from the real life. And that's a big misconception about the Enlightenment. Um, because in reality we need to embrace everything what life brings. Because I like the analogy of painting and using certain colors. Life is not always about using just the pastel colors or just the bright colors. In order to have the real depth, we need to use the dark colors, the shadows as well. And that's that's reality of
Yeah.
life as a human being. We are here to experience everything.
Life's a palette of life is a color palette of all experiences, the good ones and the
Exactly.
other ones, the light ones, the dark ones, and all the million colors in between. And
Mm.
when you talked about this, uh, that life goes on the same way, did I don't know if I ever told you there's this Buddhist saying where the Buddhists say before enlightenment, when you come into a monastery to learn enlightenment, before enlightenment, do the dishes, mop the floors. After enlightenment, do the dishes, mop the floors. Nothing changes.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that changes is your perception of things, the way you look at things, the way you approach things, the way you handle and deal with things. That's the big thing. But the things stay the same. You have to do the dishes. You have to go for groceries. The car breaks down. Computer gives up, and more of these things, and deal with them. Deal with them. That's the thing.
Magdalena says, hello, guys. I would love to, I'm talking to our viewers. I would love to see your definition, in brackets, obviously, of enlightenment, how you understand enlightenment, how you see that process. Do you agree with what we say, or maybe you have your own different way of looking at it? Something we didn't discuss just yet. If you could share, that would be lovely. Um, but yeah, what does it mean to live an enlightenment life? Because you mentioned about the doing the dishes, and I absolutely love it because I think it's the essence of and the bridge between misconceptions about enlightenment as well as the truth about it.
Yeah.
But in your experience, in your opinion, what it is to live an
Well,
enlightened life?
yeah, yeah. The only right answer is uh, ask an enlightened person.
Hmm.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me. But of course, I've read about it. I've studied it. I went some steps through already. Um, so I might have a concept that's that's one eye in the land of the blind. That is just a bit more than someone who is still at the very start of
Mhm.
their spiritual awakening. So enlightened life means living your purpose in the long run. um, what I think the steps that I took to where I am now would definitely be to get out of the mold, to get out of the blueprint, to get out of the rat race that is forced on you on society. So living an enlightened life definitely to me would come to making my own decisions.
Mhm.
That does not necessarily mean that you have to step out of, for instance, having a job or having a family or having a mortgage. That can be a decision as well.
Yeah, but it's
So
about being authentic.
living an enlightened life, some would probably be more related to living it on your own terms than um, living somewhere, for instance, where I live. I know a lot of people are jealous of my and even your and also your situation, where the both of us both live in a rural place in the lovely lovely
Out in
Kerry
nature.
mountains, in the mountains in Ireland, in the south of Kerry, and with nature around us, with lovely animals around us, with the bird song um, at our fingertips every morning. I thought,
Mm.
oh, yeah, that's an easy part. It, sometimes I think it's way harder. I was in a city for the weekend where there's noises 24 hours a day, and I had I had a hard time sleeping through the whole night with all the noises. Sunday
Mm.
morning at 6, someone, it was like a chainsaw. I think it was a motorbike with a broken exhaust or something. But it was, they were making so much noise. And of course, I noticed it. I woke up to it. I think, well, let's turn around and this is the city. Maybe that's enlightenment. So that doesn't mean that you're free yourself from uh, all inputs, from all impulses, and from all the things that happen to you, but that you, yeah, accept the things you cannot change anyway.
And just living in alignment with your true values, your true selves, with the essence, and making choices which are aligned with you and you only, not the society, not what other people think or feel. And that's absolutely one of the most important aspects, I think, is the authenticity, when we become the truest versions of ourselves. um, and then another aspect would be probably that inner peace we achieve through that, that there is no longer that war between the mind and other aspects, that there is that um, inner understanding, and inner peace, that when you take aligned actions, you know that no matter what will happen along the path, the universe has got your back, because you're exactly where you need to be. And to me, that gives me always, especially through challenges, when I go through tough times,
Mhm.
through challenges, that gives me that sense of peace, that it is all just an experience.
It is. It is.
Mm.
We have a question to, or an answer to one of your questions. Bring it in
Mm. Lovely,
screen.
lovely, please do.
Magda.
Enlightenment is what our souls are trying to reach. And to me, says Magda, it's the highest state of being, living, even something which goes beyond love. Oh, that's such a beautiful way of looking at it.
Deep,
Thank you for
yeah.
sharing. Beautiful, beautiful. And Iron Fire Horse says, I have to settle on Killarney, Ontario, here in Canada. Supposed to go camping there today. Oh, beautiful. I mean, I've
Yeah,
been to Canada once, and the
yeah.
wilderness of the natures was something which absolutely touched me, moved me. Um, the big land which is not touched by humans' existence, that's something which definitely spoke to my heart and soul.
And of course, Killarney, Canada is probably one of the early Irish settlements where people from the south of Ireland says that, oh, this looks like home.
Mm.
Let's name it like home. And of course, uh, lots of places in the US and Canada are named after places in Europe, because that's uh, yeah, not all not all very fortunate actually. That's they took over and took it as their own, and well, much at the cost of the people who originally lived there, and lived there. Well, we could say they lived quite close close to enlightenment lives,
Mm.
in balance with nature, in community, Uh, yeah, if I look at the Native American lifestyle from before the European the European settlers, as they call them, or we could say invaders, came. Yeah, life was good.
Yeah.
Especially
And
especially the stewardship of the earth is something
oh,
that always speaks to me big. You know,
mm,
and maybe there's also when there's also a lesson in enlightenment. I spoke to a very religious American yesterday in Galway, and he was quite okay with cutting trees and not minding about global warming and stuff like that. it was, I had to sigh, and of course, accept what he said. You have to be respectful to other people's opinions, but but um, if we say that we are, even we are given this earth by the greater spirit or by the big architect that created us all. We're just not doing a very good job in making it the most beautiful place, or maintaining it as the most beautiful place it can be. And that's also a part of enlightenment, taking care of all life,
Yeah, being
trying-
compassionate
being compassionate
towards
to all life.
ourselves, others,
Critters and,
animals, nature.
critters and crawlers.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Treating each other with respect and kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
That's another thing which comes with enlightenment. And thank you for inspiring that
Yeah.
with that comment and with that story, because it's absolutely what it is. And it takes me to another aspect, which is the mindful living. Um, Having the awareness of our actions, our intentions, and realizing that it's not just about ourselves, that it's not about me, 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 me. It's about us. It's about co-creating a beautiful world. Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the ease of well, if I remember that the ease with what we in previous life phases were using a newspaper to kill a fly or something. Now you can say, has this fly done anything to hurt me except then existing? And being
Mm.
mindful about that, and then think, okay, but the fly is also uh, the owner of this place, and it has also a right to live. And isn't that with all lives, the mini ones and the big ones? Yeah.
As a vegan, I say a very big fat yes to it. Vegan
Good.
love, baby. Yeah, and Iron
Yeah.
Firehorse says white quartz and pink granite rocks everywhere. Oh my
Love
goodness.
it. Love
I
it.
can imagine the loveliness. I will have to look at the map and just dig because it looks so amazing by the way you describe it. And I've always been a nature girl, always respectful. And that's the
Bless you.
true essence of
Bless you.
enlightenment as well, the respect we have. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and bless you for
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. All right. We promised you guys that we're going to talk about practices which can support the path on or spiritual awakening and the
Yeah.
path, what to do to be more aligned with ourselves and how to find our true essence, how to connect with that version of us, which is energy.
Yeah, and there are a few practices that you can do. There are a few practices we have talked about earlier in the show, but we integrate them here in as the package. The package, and of course, the package starts with the awareness, the meditation, and mindfulness. Being mindful about everything you do. Do the dishes. We don't have a dishwasher in our house, so 2 3 times a day we have to do the dishes, and we even name it. Oh, we're going to do our dishwashing meditation, because we wash the dishes mindfully, so they're with good, nice and warm water, so they're nice and clean, and we dry them with care and love and understanding. That's mindfulness. That's putting awareness and attention to everything you do, even the most mundane things like washing the dishes or sweeping floors, or even sweeping your ass after you did a big number two. Doing it mindful, doing it with compassion, doing it with full attention and awareness.
A few times I witnessed that dishwashing meditation, and both of you went into the Zen, and the energy was lovely. Nobody spoke a word. You were both focused on the task, and I could tell that you were fully present in the task. And that's exactly the essence, being fully present. being fully mindful about what we
Yeah.
do. If it's activities like washing the dishes, walking the dog, eating, or even working, when we are fully present, when we enter that state of full presence, we enter the stage of flow, which allows us to work more productively.
Funny that you say that. With mindfulness and meditation comes in place the observer.
Mm.
And you were watching us doing the dishes.
Um,
Also in silent and observing. But I always, of course, the observer in the spiritual realm is a completely different thing, because the observer is the self looking at the self as if looking at a movie, or as if looking from above. And especially when the self, the higher self, looks at the manifested self as the hero, and sometimes calls for the popcorn and the coke, as if they're watching a movie, and now the exciting part in the movie starts when the hero gets in all kinds of trouble, and the
yeah.
observer just observes and watches the hero get in, and hopefully also out of trouble again. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
well,
there.
go ahead.
Now
Well, the
you're on.
mindfulness is a part of the meditation practice, and the meditation practice helps to quiet the mind and helps to allowing the connection with the inner self as well as the present moment. And meditation practices, I love meditation in so many ways because it keeps me grounded. It's that way of being here and now, but also grounding ourselves. And there are several meditation practices. There will be a mindful meditation, just like Jan said, the dishwashing meditation. There can be all sorts of guided meditation, past life regressions, as well as transcendental meditations, where you use mantras um, to reach that deeper state of consciousness and the deeper state of mind. Um, so
Yeah, and
who
not all.
to choose from
Yeah,
in terms of meditation and how to do it.
yeah. Sorry for interrupting you. Uh, Not all meditations are immediately supportive for awakening. You know, you have especially the silent meditation, so the
Mm,
meditation where you become the observer, and when you observe your thoughts and just watch them, look at them without judging them, and seeing them fly away like birds in the sky or clouds in the wind, and being followed by a new one. Um,
mm,
Things like regression and guided meditations would more or less have other purposes, like finding things, finding past memories, finding um, things that ways out of problems or ways in of deeper understanding. But for instance, singing the mantra and going in the zone, and whew, boom, that's also a way. And there we have again what I said, of quieting the mind, singing mantras or drumming drums, or making any kind of music, or quiets the mind. There's no time for thinking, and that's where the space for mindfulness, and the space for awakening, and the space for enlightenment slowly pops up. Yeah.
yeah. And what is really important to touch here is that the thoughts will come at some point, and there is
Yeah.
normal and natural part of that. But it's just what meditation teaches us is to observe, just what you said before, to observe it and then let it go. um, Let those thoughts pass through your mind, and instead of focusing on them and giving them meaning, just to observe.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, well, meditation is such a lovely topic because, as I said, there are so many ways of looking at it and approaching that. It can be as simple as closing your eyes and just connecting with yourself, or following a voice which guides you to connect with your soul. It depends on what level you are, what is your ability to visualize. There are some people who work better if they hear a voice guiding them rather than imagining things. So it's a big topic, and um, there is a really vast sea of types of meditations which you can choose from to your everyday living.
Yeah. Would you agree that meditation doesn't have to be extremely long?
It doesn't have to be extremely long, nor it doesn't have to be in a lotus position. It can be while you're walking, it can be done while you're doing dishes. Um, Sometimes it's just a matter of grounding yourself
Yeah.
and turning your awareness inside towards what's within you, and that will be a meditation as well. It doesn't have to have this lotus position, straight back. However, straight back is important for the energy flow, but you can do it lying down. And as you said, it don't have to be hours. Obviously, the more you do it, the more you practice it, you can go deeper.
Yeah.
But I very often just connect for just literally a few minutes, if not seconds sometimes.
Yeah, one minute can already be beneficial. Rather do
Absolutely.
1 minute every day than 10 minutes a week or something in
Yeah,
one
like
go. Yeah,
simple practice of imagining roots going through your other root chakra or feet going to the ground into the Mother Earth will have such a significant impact on how the day will unfold, or shall I say, how we approach words and how we see things which come, which happen during the day.
yeah,
Absolutely. So there is no certain way of if you're going to meditate for this and that long, or if you're going to do this and that, this will bring you towards enlightenment or spiritual awakening. It all depends on your path. It all depends on your abilities and needs, because when the life is beautiful and peaceful, there will be, I don't want to say that meditation will be less needed. Somebody wants to say hello. We haven't seen you for a while, Karma, during our live show.
mm,
Hello. But there is a saying that if you don't have it, if you have time, meditate for an hour. But if you're busy and stressed and you don't have time for meditation, then meditate for 2 hours. And there is a lot of truth in it.
that's it. Yeah. So please, dear viewers, when you have some comments on meditation or want to share something about your own meditative practices, the comments are open. Either the live comments or the comments below the video. We like to hear your experiences with
Yeah,
this. Before we
absolutely.
move on to the next practice topic, which is journaling.
Mhm.
Do you journal a lot?
Recently, yes. It's an on and off practice for me. However, thanks to Jan, I got into journaling because he shared with me the creative automatic writing technique, which the book was sitting on my shelf for a good few years before he even mentioned that. So I got into it, and it is a meditative practice for me as well. Exactly, The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. Mishu, what do you want me to do? I'm sorry, but my doggy
I'll
is.
take I'll take over here then. Julia Cameron has a practice has written the book originally for artists, but I found it helpful for many other types of people, just people who want to become, well, you could say, an artist of life. You know, where you where what you create as a life is your piece of art, your masterpiece, and her specific technique revolves about what's called morning pages.
Mm,
The normal journaling practice would be we sit at the end of our day when we're already exhausted from the works and everything we did, and we write down what happened during the day. But Julia says what happens during the night when we sleep in our dreams and the moment we wake up, the freshness of the mind, That's when we should be journaling. And her teachings revolve around starting the morning before breakfast, writing 3 pages of long form every every day, or uh, or 5 days a week, or whatever. But make a practice of it. And look, I'm
Mhm.
doing it. I'm doing it in my journal, and what it taught me, um, that when you start the day like that, and for instance, you can write everything that comes up, you can write what you want to do for the day, your inspiration for the day. And when you've written it down, it's out of your mind, and the feeling of I have to accomplish a lot of things uh, are, are in that booklet, and you're free. And it really boosted one thing with my productivity. From the morning pages, I started to do many more things. We started our YouTube channel together, where we persist every Monday. There's a show, and during the winter, every midweek there's a show, and we just do it. Why? Because we're inspired. And what brings the inspiration? Of course, our cooperation, our friendship, and also the the spiritual power from the journals, from what we write down, and the ideas we have there, and the ideas of things to talk about. Yeah.
Not to mention that the act of spelling, writing itself by hand, has a magical ability to create things. So we create by writing, we can create things into existence. Yeah, absolutely. We have a lovely comment as well, that my doggy letting me know that she wants to go out. If you heard the noise, that's Karma. Just a second, Baba. Anyway, I used to practice Buddhist meditation with all the bells and whistles, just sitting quietly and out in nature when I can. And that's back to the meditation practices we
Yeah.
asked you about. That's such a lovely practice. Being out in nature takes the meditation to a completely new level. And I
Yeah.
apologize. I will put an invisibility spell on myself for 2 seconds because I need to let my doggy out. Otherwise, she won't stop pressing the go pee button.
Okay. Then I'll continue uh, about journaling. I'll make Luna's house invisible. We're just in my studio now, and Luna already opened the bridge to our next topic, from journaling, uh, preferably when we're fresh and new and start of the day, uh, and maybe even write some comments in the evening. But most often we're tired in the evening. We go to the nature connection, um, where spending time in nature, it's deeply grounding and rejuvenating. Hello, you're back. Doggy's out. Good. So, nature's beauty and tranquility often inspires feelings of awe and connectedness. And if you have a place where you can go, where you can put your invisibility cloak over you, or you don't even need to because there's nobody there, like uh, in our own surroundings. I have I've one practice. It's a very well known practice because the Viking leaders did it in the old days. It's called utasita. Uta means out, and sita means sitting out. And in my mountain range behind the house, we have lots of rocks on specifically chosen strategic viewpoints where you have a wide view. You can just sit on them, and there's nothing more you have to do. Trees, listen to the birds, listen to the leaves whistling in the trees, watching, even if you know you come back regularly, watching the seasons go by, watching in spring little leaves becoming big leaves, and the the branches becoming canopies, and in fall the change of the color again, and the dropping of the leaves. And just sitting there is so inspiring, is so relaxing, is so soothing. It's, yeah, I love it. I love it.
Nature just brings it all together for me, says Iron Firehorse. Absolutely, I
Oh,
agree with that. And
totally agree with it.
totally, nature is to me spirit itself. Being with nature is so healing, and it's such a profound experience. Today, I had an amazing practice with deep meditation while walking out in nature. No phone, no distraction, no food, just water for several hours with a certain intentions. And something has shifted within me. I can't talk about it just yet because it's not the fully closed process yet. However, I will share that experience in probably a couple of weeks. Ah, you can even see me completely relaxing when I even think about it.
You're in love.
Absolutely, in love with Mother Nature, and I'm the ocean girl. For to me, every time I'm challenged, I go immediately to the beach, put my put my feet into the water because we come from water, and then all of a sudden everything stops to exist because that's the here and now, my connection with and being oneness with Mother Nature. So absolutely, being out in the nature, it is a spiritual practice itself.
Yeah. And yeah, and being in nature and doing nothing, or being in nature and doing things.
Mm.
Because what can we bring? What can we do there? What when we have the time, we're invisible. Nobody disturbs us. We can read, and of course, what will we take with us? We take inspirational books, books that teach us things,
We
books
can
that we
read,
can.
but we can also create music, art, and that's another way of spiritual practices we can implement in our everyday life by creating through art, through music, um, through drumming. Like I know with some of our viewers are sound healers who connect with their inner essence through music, through creating sound, and through healing others by sound. Jan is a drummer, and every time he takes a drum, he goes immediately into the zone, into a state of flow, being one with the drum, being one with the sounds.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Yeah. So when we go on with our practices, one of the elements that comes after um, the experience, I always call it that's the that's the intuitive experience when we connect with the eagle and have the high side and the thing, but we also have the owl. And what's the owl, the head with the round eyes? That's the one that studies the spiritual books, that reads, explores spiritual texts, um, teachings, philosophies. They provide insights and guidance, and there's so many lovely books you can read. Old books, new books. This one I got recently, Shamanic Dreaming,
Mm.
very helpful to awakening. There's also some older books like Manly P. Hall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages.
You mentioned Eckhart Tolle, who
Totally, yes.
he is it's like a bible of modern spiritual awakening.
Right.
Some say that he is a modern Jesus, which I really like this comparison, because he does teach us about present moment. I think we should do a completely separate episode about spiritual books and books
Yeah,
about spiritual awakening,
we can do
enlightenment. And
it. Yeah.
we have a comment from Richard here. Water, meditating on wild and desolate beach or in a forest near a brook, just being there, fully absolute bliss.
Yes.
That's a beautiful definition, because that's exactly what most of us, I don't want to say everyone, but most of us experience when in nature, the feeling of bliss.
It's
And
essence. Yeah. The
Yeah.
feeling of being one, being essence, the oneness that comes with it. Yeah, love it.
Mhm. Another way of spiritual practices, apart from um, finding the answers through books and through reading, would be self inquiry, asking the question, who am I? What is my nature? And just exploring the inner self through the techniques we already mentioned, like meditation, journaling, being mindful, um, and cultivate that self-awareness would be another lovely way of approaching spiritual awakening and
Definitely.
creating an everyday practice about it. Another thing would be through movement, like yoga, for example, especially yoga, because it was designed to create that alignment with the body and the soul and the spirit, the mind, body, and soul. Um, and there is plenty of types of yoga. I'm not an expert. I know that the yoga teacher Magdalena is watching out, so perhaps she could share more a little bit. But there are yoga techniques which are connected with breathing, and breath work is another fantastic way of spiritual practices as well.
Yeah.
Um, there are types of yoga, like Kundalini yoga, for example, which are designed to boost our energy. Um, or there are types of yoga which are designed to focus on our mind as well, our posture. There are yogas which, and everything is connected with the breath. And that's why I mentioned the breath work as well, which is an intensive breathing exercise, which can clear emotional blockages, give us mental clarity, and definitely deepen the spiritual experiences by going into a meditative state and having visions, going back through the breath and connecting with those parts which need our care and attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I practiced Kundalini yoga for a long time. I tried
Ooh,
a
you.
few times, yeah, and to me, Kundalini yoga stood out definitely, especially there's poses that require getting over yourself. You know, sitting with the hands high, and then keeping them there until you no longer can, and then after working for an hour, when your whole body and everything is warm and the blood flows, and then you go into a relaxed state, and you know the difference there, and the breath work is lovely. Yeah, I totally recommend Kundalini yoga.
I've
To
never experienced more sore muscles than after Kundalini yoga, especially on my arms. I couldn't move, but
yes.
it's such a lovely way of connecting and implementing so many aspects of and practices in one. I didn't know that you practice Kundalini yoga. We need to talk
I
about it.
didn't know of you either. We discover new stuff of each other every time.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's lovely.
that's
But
what you get when you have long lives, Luna.
a lot to talk about. Um,
Yes.
Another wonderful spiritual practice would be energy healing practices, Reiki,
Yeah.
Qigong, energy healing in general, and connecting to that higher energy and becoming like an antenna and becoming a source of light and helping ourselves and others as well. I'm a Reiki practitioner myself, and I love working with energy. It not just balances my own energies and energies of my clients, but it promotes healing, brings more light, and very often it helps me to connect even deeper with my spiritual awareness.
Okay. And I think it's important when you do these practices, especially when you're doing them to help others, that you don't drain yourself, that you just be the channel.
Yes,
of the
well,
energy. You're
if
not.
it's done
You
properly, it never comes through the energy healer. It goes just the energy healer is a vessel through the
it's
energy.
a
So it's
catalyst. Yeah,
important. Absolutely.
yeah.
I'm
Very
with you on
important
that.
on all aspects. I have the same in my reading practice. Some people say you read 8 hours in a you read 8 hours without a break. So without eating, I always have water with me. Water, of course, water, the essence of life, but no food, no pee break, nothing. How do you do it? I say I don't do it. Spirit does it. I just, of course, there's actions with the cards, but the cards are on the table, and there it comes.
Mm.
Story comes. I get the information from the sitter, from the one I'm reading for, and there the story comes. And it it doesn't come. Yeah, it. I have a feeling it doesn't come from within me. It flows through me like Reiki, like reflexology, like the magnetism healings and stuff. It's a gift, and
Mm.
you're a channel at that moment.
Well said. Well said. And that brings me to another practice, which is fasting. Fasting can boost the awareness, can help you to tap within your body even more, because when the body is not focused on digesting, it can actually focus on other aspects. And I love to meditate on empty stomach because it helps me to have stronger visions, to
Mhm.
connect with my true essence even more. And there is plenty of types of doing fasting. It can be intermittent fasting, it can be juicing, it can be fasting for several hours, days even. And the longer the fast lasts, the more transformative processes are going on within the body. The DMT starts to be produced on really high levels, that it helps us to tap into the visions, the mm, visual side of ourselves as well.
Yeah. So, Luna, would we say that all these practices would be based on being mindful, being totally present, being 100% present, and still um, being giving from source, not just giving from yourself, taking good care of yourself. So
Mm,
that's the part where we say there's a good level of selfishness. So normally being selfish is regarded as bad, but I would say taking good care of yourself is good selfishness, and leads to uh, also leads to awakening, eventually to spiritual growth.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's what we've been talking about. No, we didn't go off track in the in the episode. We've been talking about methods of spiritual growth, practices to
Mm,
support your spiritual growth, and all these practices, the meditation, the journaling, the connecting with nature, the reading and study, and the giving and channeling of the work, sharing it with others. And then
and
we
that
can.
brings me to another point, which you actually inspired, because you said the word support, and in my head was a ding 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 kind of bell, because yes, community and supporting and finding like-minded people is another way to be and to do on the spiritual awakening, is to surround yourself with individuals who think and see the world in a similar way, so you could have more understanding, and you could have that support from others, um, from like practices like, I don't know, going and taking part in a sound bath, ecstatic
Yeah.
dance, for example, festivals, druids. It's a
Do
huge
it. We do it.
community. Yes, and we're nearly towards the end, and it's just like we didn't even mention divination just yet. Tarot practices, druidic practices, lunar practices, where we connect with Mother Nature and the cycles of of the moon.
So we have to do another episode, I think.
Yes,
We have
absolutely.
to do another
Um,
episode.
another
But
few episodes, I would
yeah,
say. But just to touch on the very important aspect, which we a little bit touched on, is the surrendering and letting go of attachments, of certain ways of things we want to happen, and just trusting. But maybe that's a topic for another time as well.
it is. It is. Well, let's not say goodbye
Oh.
without having something to chew on for the week.
Mm.
So, dear viewers, I have my cherished, well prepared, and well loved toss deck here, and I'm going to pull one card, which is the inspiration for your week,
Mm.
and that can be something good, that can be something challenging. Let's see what comes out. We just go somewhere in the middle. Adjustment, justice,
Justice. Mm. Interesting.
balance. One big benefit of spiritual awakening, of course, is uh, is being balanced, being not thrown off easily, being standing strong in what you are. So, dear viewers, our challenge for this week is accept the good things in gratitude, but
Mm.
also accept the other things in awareness. Doesn't have to be gratitude all the time, but don't get carried away with the challenges that life throws at you. Face them gracefully and think, can I do something about it? Yes, then act. If you can't do something about it, then accept or turn your back.
Mm.
Adjustment. Justice be done.
Thank you for that beautiful message. And with that said, I invite you for the part 3 of spiritual awakening. I was again very naive to think that I will at least touch on
Aha,
spiritual traps
aha.
today. Oh well. Yes.
Spiritual
So
traps. That's the topic for next week. That's the
yes,
big theme for next week. The spiritual traps. I love it. Um,
yes. Let's continue
really,
on that magical carpet of spiritual awakening because this is a vast topic and I love it, and I know that Jan loves it too, because it's such a joy to be here and share our experiences as well as our way of looking at the world and aspects of spiritual awakening with you guys. So have a lovely weekend. Thank you guys. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Magda, for
and I look very forward.
all the comments and adding to this discussion. And see you next week, guys. We love
See you
you.
next time. Love you.
Mm.
Woohoo! Bye.